welcome back to WizNugs. Today, we're talking about the shopping cart and its ability to tell you everything you need to know about a person's moral character. All right, so you may have seen this thing going around. It's been going around for a couple of years now that basically equates a person's moral character to their shopping cart behavior. The theory goes something like this. If a person doesn't return their shopping cart to an approved shopping cart receptacle, that they're a bad person. Because everyone knows that returning a shopping cart is the right thing to do. And if you don't do it, well, by definition, you're wrong. So, today we're gonna discuss this, some of the nuances, and, well, really, let's talk about nuance.
So the first thing I want to say about this is I really feel that this was written as a troll piece, meaning it was designed to infuriate people, as many people as possible, by taking some ridiculous statement and putting out there as factual. And this is the truth of everything. And if you just subscribe to my truth, then everything in life will be so much easier.
Right. So initially, the assertion is that it is universally accepted,
right,
that as a truth, that you need to return your cart, period, or else.
Given that, I'm going to go ahead and suspend disbelief for this section and say, okay, as ridiculous as I find this particular article to be, let's go ahead and let's delve into it.
Talk about it on the face of its own concept.
On its own merit, right? First of all, for me, the idea that you can subscribe somebody's morality based on how they treat an object is weird, right? So let's take something that's correlated. Let's say you're a writer or an artist and you use pencils, right? And you're particular about your pencils. And so you get a batch of pencils and you're like, okay, this looks like my regular pencil. I'm going to write it. You start writing it and you realize that the lead breaks pretty easily. You're like, oh, well, let me sharpen it. All right, sharpen it real quick. All right. It's broke again. Third time, you're like, you know what? This is crap. And you throw the pencil across the room and you look at the rest of the pencils. Well, if that one was crap, these are all crap. I'm going to throw them all away. Does that make you a bad person?
You're a bad person because you didn't treat the pencils with respect. Somebody made that pencil for you. Someone sold you that pencil and you're just going to throw it away? You're a bad person.
That's the point of this article. Because of the way that you interacted with an object one particular time, all of a sudden that equates your morality and what type of person you are for all time, for all things.
For the sake of argument, again, I think that this is a ridiculous thing on the face of it.
Sure.
But for the sake of the argument, I do believe that ultimately what the point of it is that you're inconveniencing other people in some way by your treatment of the shopping cart. So if you leave your cart, say, just adjacent to where your car was parked, that that other people now have to do the work. Someone's got to come out there and collect it to bring it back up to the store, or someone's got to now like maneuver around your cart, but that really you've just inconvenienced everybody else around you. So it is object, but then kind of that next level of also the people that either have to now interact with the cart because you left it there, or the people who can't interact with it because it isn't in the place that it should be.
Sure. Again, I just think that the idea, right? The idea that the way that you treat an object, an inanimate thing, is a determinant of anything is just ludicrous. What if you just had a bad day that day, right? You lost your job. You're spending the last $50 that you have to go to the store to go buy what you need in order to be able to get through this week. Hopefully, it might be all ramen noodles and canned soups or something of that nature, just to get yourself through until you get that next job, something of that nature. So, you know what? Returning the cart to the store is not the first thing on your mind. It's, what am I going to do about a job? What am I going to do about money? What am I going to tell my family?
Feed my children?
Yeah, what am I going to do here? How am I going to afford gas? I mean, the last thing on my mind is, did I return the cart to its proper place so the next person can? That's not the first thing. And sure, that may come across as inconsiderate, but you know what? Right now, you're just focused on you right now because no one else is going to get you that job. No one else is going to buy you the food. No one else is going to do these things for you. So you're focused on you. So you know what? That's okay. Now, if you're being rude and nasty to other people, that's not their fault that what happened to you, right? That doesn't mean that you have to necessarily modify behavior per se, but at the same time, be cognizant. Be cognizant of the fact that not everybody's going through your stuff. Do what you need to do, get in, get out, so on and so forth.
So thing one that we can say on this is everybody is going through something. You don't know what's going on in other people's lives. Try not to make blanket judgments of other people based on behaviors.
Right. And so there's something in this article that said, unless it's a dire situation, that you should always return your cart, right? What is the exact thing that it said?
Let me get here. This version says, the shopping cart is the ultimate litmus test for whether a person is capable of self-governing. To return the shopping cart is an easy, convenient task, and one which we all recognize as the correct, appropriate thing to do. To return the shopping cart is objectively right. There are no situations other than dire emergencies in which a person is not able to return their cart. Simultaneously, it is not illegal to abandon your shopping cart. Therefore, the shopping cart presents itself as the apex example of whether a person will do what is right without being forced to do it.
There's a thing I want to talk about with the abandonment part is though you assume ownership of this cart, right? That all of a sudden it's yours. It's not. It's not yours. It's still the store. It's been given to you as something to use to make sure that your shopping experience is easier. And as you mentioned,
not only easier so that, hey, that's a nice thing to do. Like as a store, we're going to provide a convenience just to make your life better. No. Shopping carts are provided by stores because they help you buy more.
Right.
Because if they make you carry each individual item, you've only got what you can easily hold before the shopping process becomes a problem and you give up.
So to guarantee that you don't abandon your cart, take it home with you. Now it's yours. It is now yours. You take ownership of it. It is your cart. You bring it with you every single time that you go to this particular store. And you have a cart from every store, right? Because you don't want to take this particular store's cart to this particular store's cart.
You can't take a Walmart shopping cart to Target.
Right? It's just, that's unheard of. So you have a collection of different carts for different stores at your home and you've never abandoned them and you've always with you. And then they're never in anyone's way.
And you clean them.
Yes.
You oil the wheels so that you don't have that one wonky wheel. You take ownership and you take care of them.
That's right, because now it's yours and there is no abandonment. I'm just following down the ludicrous pathway that this particular article has opened up. Have I said that this is a stupid article? I just want to make sure that this is out there. That's all.
All right. So thing one, we can reserve judgment on other people. This helps us to truly be a better person.
Right.
And we can assume that whatever is going on in someone else's life, that they've got reasons for making the choices that they're making.
Right.
And that to instantly jump to, you are a bad person if you don't do the thing that I think you should do.
Right.
It's a recipe for unhappiness in your life. So that's my thing one. I think thing two is nuance.
Okay.
So everybody knows only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Right.
Right. So when we're looking at this article and we're saying that this is objectively right, this is the apex example of society. Okay, well, I heard an anthropologist state that the true measure of civilization, the earliest recorded example of civilization, is when they found a femur that had obvious signs of having been broken and then healed. Because that shows that in this ancient society, that a person was injured if an animal at that time, or honestly at any time now in nature that isn't like a pet, if an animal is injured in that way, they are now the first one to be picked off by a predator.
Yep.
So if you've got a major break in your leg, you can't fend for yourself. You can't defend yourself. You can't gather food. You can't hunt. So the fact that this break showed evidence of having been healed means that the person didn't die based on their leg wound.
Right.
Other people around them
yep.
took care of each other. So again, going back to your example of how we treat objects versus how we treat the people around us. So I'm gonna posit another possible example here. How you treat children when you come in contact with them
Yep.
is a better example of your moral character.
Yep.
Especially if they're crying. Especially if they're crying and you're in an enclosed space together, like a bus or a train or an airplane.
Yep.
How do you treat that kid? How do you treat the parents of that kid who didn't choose for their kid to cry?
Right.
Okay? How do we treat the other drivers on the road with us in traffic? We're all just trying to get to where we're going.
Yep.
Okay? Let's step back from the ledge here of this absolute, of the apex example being the shopping cart.
Without trying to be redundant, it's just such a ridiculous argument to begin with. The statement where he says, we all recognize this is the objective truth.
To return the shopping cart is objectively right.
And that's a subjective statement in itself.
Right.
You cannot say something that's subjective and say that it's an objective truth. That's ridiculous.
It is an assertion with nothing to back it up.
And it's just opinion. It just comes down to opinion. And it's a pet peeve, like you stated. It's okay to be frustrated. I worked in the retail business for 14 years, in the grocery store business, right? I dealt with, as a courtesy clerk, getting the carts and returning them. Yeah, and as management, having to deal with people taking them off the lot and all kinds of stuff, right? So I realized that the shopping cart being part of the store, and it's part of a necessity in order to be able to have convenient shopping experience, right? But at the store that I worked at, our carts were stolen all the time. When I was saying earlier about the example of just take them home with you, that happened all the time. The area of town that the store was in was not a well-to-do area of town. It was probably a poorer section of town, and people would walk to the store from the neighborhood that was right behind the shopping center, and then take a cart with them, and they'd take it home.
Because it was the only way to get that quantity of groceries into their home, because they were walking, and they couldn't carry all of that all at once.
And this is years ago, right? This is before Uber and all this stuff. Now, you had taxi cabs, of course, but no one's going to take a taxi cab.
If you're broke, and this is why you're walking to the grocery store in the first place,
and you're spending whatever money you have available to buy groceries, right? Then, yeah, you're limiting your other costs. It doesn't cost me anything to walk. And isn't it cool? This grocery store provided me a way to transport my groceries back home without me having to have a large trunk or some kind of other transportation in order to get my groceries home.
And I think that is probably the biggest argument here that just derails the entire thing as shopping cart morality in and of itself.
Yep.
Is that carts were invented by stores, by a particular store owner, to make the process of shopping more convenient so people would want to go to his store.
Yep.
The point is that this is a service that's offered by the store on purpose. Now, there are some places and some stores that specifically require you to put in a coin into the cart to get the cart to use it in the first place.
Yep.
So then that becomes incentive for you to return the cart to get your money back, or that's your fee that you're paying to use the cart and then leave it somewhere else.
I think we could even go to another ridiculous level. And it's like, we issue everybody, you get your membership cards for getting your discounts at the stores, right?
Okay.
Right. So now when you go to get a cart, you have to scan your card and it will pop out a cart for you. And it is indicated on its record, you have checked out a cart. And if you don't return that cart, next time you come to the store, it's going to set off the alarms. Ring, ring, ring. So-and-so has entered the building. They did not return their cart. They cannot use a cart until they go out into the lot and get one that has been abandoned and bring it back in with them. And then we will say, your morality meter has been reset.
But once again, this kind of harks back to the point that stores want you to have the carts to use and then to bring it back out. In fact, if you really don't want to deal with having to return the cart, most places will offer to help you out to your car with your groceries.
Yep, and then that courtesy clerk can return the cart on their own as they go back into the store, and they'll probably grab a couple of other ones along the way.
So I ask, which costs the store less money? Which one is less intrusive on the workers of the store? To have a human literally push your groceries out for you all the way to your car and then put them in your car and then carry the cart back? Or for you to take the cart out and then load your groceries and leave the cart next to your parking space?
And I want to say, based off of at least my retail experience, that the courtesy clerk taking your groceries out for you was a common practice. It was a given. At least when I worked there, it was like it was almost mandatory. We wouldn't take it to the point where you had to take it no matter what you say. This is just part of our service. It was like, we're going to take this out for you, and then the customer had the option to opt out. Like, no, I'm good. I'm okay. Okay, I got it.
Well, standard, like how you used to drive up to a gas station and someone would jump out and they would pump your gas for you and they'd check your oil and your tire pressure and clean your windshield. These are all things that used to be offered as services, but in the name of cutting costs, they've kind of dwindled and dwindled and dwindled down to the point where now I pump my own gas, I check out my own groceries. I'm doing it all myself at this point, and it's saving somebody money, but it's costing me time.
And it's not even saving you money. And that's the thing. Again, this is tangential, and I apologize. Checking yourself out at the grocery store doesn't save you any money. There's no discount.
Right.
As a retail employee, I know that there was no discount for the retail employees that worked there. We didn't get any kind of percentage off from that nature. Once in a while, we just got dibs on stuff being marked down. That was pretty much it. We're going to mark down the Christmas items, just so you know, if you want to get something, everyone run over there, go get what you need to do. Like, I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. But for the regular, there wasn't a discount. And so now with your self-checkout lane, there's no discount for that. And you're not saving any money at all. You get the exact same price that everyone else gets.
Yep.
So it's do I want to... Again, I think it's a misconception. You're not saving yourself time, because if you've been in these checkout lanes, self-checkout lanes, the majority of the people don't know how to operate them, or if they do, they haphazardly operate them.
Well, they missed their first day orientation.
Right. And there's no instructions on there. And there's no, if you don't know what a produce code is, and you're trying to figure out how you're supposed to tell the system, and you've got so many apples, and you don't know if
which kind of apple?
Is it each, or is it by weight? I don't know. And is it organic?
I mean, it sort of looks like that color, but mine has a little bit more pink in it. I'm not sure. Is it this one or this one? I don't know.
So if you introduce a lot of things that are going to be hindrances, and so you're probably better off, and this is what I normally do, is I'll just stand in the line of the lane that's open. I realize that there's a perception that it's taking longer, but this cashier's probably been there a while, and they know what they're doing, they know what their codes are, they know how to ring things up. They don't have to press a button or wave their hand at the one attendant for the 8 checkout lanes to say, hey, this isn't coming up right. They have people that have been trained to deal with that, and I would rather deal with somebody who's been trained to deal with the particular thing. So the grocery store does hire people that do exactly what we talked about. Their job is to go out and collect the carts, because it's part of the service. It's a known cost. And so we're going to incorporate that into our cost of what it takes to run this business.
Now, don't launch your carts at other cars. Don't leave them in places on purpose to like block parking spaces. That kind of stuff's just rude, from my opinion. But at the same time, like, as long as you've got your cart outside of its normal spot, and sure, you're making it more convenient for the courtesy clerk to come get them if it's returned to the cart corral in an orderly fashion.
Sure.
Fair enough. But to hold this up as the apex example of what makes you a good person, as if Mother Teresa, having worked for 60 years to serve the poor orphans of Calcutta, on her one trip to a modern grocery store, brings the cart out to the vehicle that's taking her back to her orphanage, that she loads up the groceries and then just kind of leaves the cart there next to the thing, that undoes her decades of good deeds, because the one time she didn't return.
And I'd
the
like to
cart.
give an example of the converse, and that was a couple of election cycles ago when a particular political nominee had made the statement about a dictator, saying, in essence, yeah, but you know about the education system that they had there, right? That was top notch. Everybody there knew how to read. Oh, the human atrocities? Don't forget about that, because look, he taught them to read before they were off. So I think about it as like, yeah, you know what? He may have killed hundreds of thousands of people, but man, he took his cart back to the store every single time. And doesn't that justify it?
To kind of sum this all up, I think what we're saying is there's a lot of nuance in life. Give grace to the people around you. Don't judge them based on a shopping cart, of all things. Pay attention to how you're treating other people. Remember that they've got stuff going on in their life. You've got stuff going on in your life. try to be nice, try to be good, do the best you can. And I gotta say, the other big one that comes up to me from this is learn how to read critically. So that if you see something like this pop up on your news feed, that you can stop and evaluate the statement and say, hold on, they've just said that this is objectively true, but that's a subjective opinion that they're putting out there.
Right.
Okay, hold on. This person is saying an opinion and stating it as if it's a fact. Does that make it a fact?
Right.
No, it does not.
Regardless of how you feel about it. I really do. Again, I really feel like it was the person poking the lion behind the cage with the stick.
But apparently the people, there's a groundswell of people that say, yes, this is absolutely true. Because there's no punishment affixed for doing it wrong, and there's no reward for doing it right. And because we all agree, I don't remember taking that poll, but apparently we all agree that it is objectively true, correct, and decent to do.
Yeah.
So that's where I got to call shenanigans. I try to return my cart, but at the same time, like, my mom had 7 kids, and at any given time, she might have had 3 or 4 with her going to the store. And if she's got to buckle toddlers into their car seats and load the groceries and, worry about air conditioning, I mean, we live in a place where it's really hot. So if it's 110 degrees outside for a month, you try to minimize the amount of time you spend out of air conditioning. Okay, fair enough, right? But the person who's collecting carts they get a break at least. They get cold water, right? Like, these are things that happen. I don't get the cold water. I don't get a break. No, I'm not saying like, woe is me. I'm just saying, come on, guys.
If we're going to say something is universally true, then we need to take in all the other things that are not universally happening. So because I've worked at retail, for me, I will always return my cart to the minimum corral. Depending on my proximity to the storefront, will I return it to the inside of the store? If I'm parked right in that first part right there, sure, it's right there, no problem. But if I'm, 30, 40, 50, 60 feet down out from the store, closest corral is where it's going, right? But I don't begrudge people if they don't. Because, again, going back to what you said, how did you treat people? How did you treat the other people that you have to interact with? Were you nasty with the cashier? Were you nasty with the help? Were you just being, a burden to other people within the store?
Are you rude to your fellow shoppers? And especially, in my opinion, my heart goes out to the children. The ones who don't want to be there at all.
Right, ever.
Who have to sit in the cart and they try to touch something interesting and they get their hand slapped away over and over and over. How do you treat them?
And that's going to be, for me, my moral compass that I use to determine whether you're somebody I want to associate with or not. And again, even if I don't agree with your behavior, that doesn't mean I get to say how you should behave.
Thanks for joining us on WizNugs. We hope you've had a fun time exploring morality and shopping carts with us. Tell us in the comments, what's your take? What do you think about shopping carts? And have we changed your mind at all?
Once again, thanks for joining us on WizNugs, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us today on WizNugs. If you liked what you heard, spread the word. For more information, head over to mywiznugs.com.